It started like a trend, a harmless curiosity that swept across the world. Millions of people were spitting into little plastic tubes, sending them off, and waiting weeks for a digital message that promised to tell them who they really were. For most, it was just for fun. 2% Greek, 1% Viking, or distant cousin of royalty. But for one woman in Florida, that tiny test kit would pull the pin on a truth buried for decades and change two lives forever. Molly Synod was 36 years old, living a calm, ordinary life with her husband and her loving adoptive parents. She wasn't chasing secrets. She didn't even believe she had any. But curiosity and a touch of concern about her health convinced her to order the test. She wanted to know if there were any hereditary illnesses she should be aware of. Just a routine check, or so she thought. Molly had been adopted as an infant from South Korea. She grew up in the U.S., surrounded by love. Her adoptive mother used to tell her, "You were chosen, not just born." She never once felt unwanted or incomplete. But somewhere deep down she sometimes wondered, who am I really? Thousands of miles away, in Pennsylvania, another woman was living her own version of peace, or something close to it. Emily Bushnell, a single mother, was raising her one-year-old daughter, Isabel. Like Molly, Emily had also been adopted as a baby. She never met her biological parents, and honestly, she didn't plan to. She was happy, grounded, and too busy raising her daughter to chase ghosts from the past. But kids have a way of stirring old questions back to life. One afternoon, Isabel came home from school clutching a colorful brochure. "Mom," she said, "let's do one of those DNA tests. I want to know where we come from." Emily smiled but hesitated. She didn't see the point. Yet, looking at her daughter's bright, hopeful eyes, she gave in. "All right," she said with a laugh. "Let's see what science says about us." Meanwhile, in sunny Florida, Molly had already mailed her test. She went about her days cooking, working, and laughing with her husband until the email notification arrived. "Your results are ready." At first, everything looked normal. European ancestry, Korean roots, a few distant relatives. But then, a line of text appeared that froze her heart. "You share 49.96% DNA with an individual living in the United States." The name beneath it, Isabel Bushnell. Molly frowned. That can't be right. She had no children, no biological family in the States. It had to be an error, yet the match was too strong to dismiss. According to the database, Isabel wasn't just a relative, she was Molly's daughter. Her hands trembled as she reread the words over and over. "That's impossible," she whispered. "I've never even been pregnant." Panic gave way to confusion. Was it a lab mistake, or worse, had someone stolen her DNA? She contacted the testing company, but they confirmed the results. The probability of error was virtually zero. Halfway across the country, Emily received a similar message. Her daughter had matched with a woman named Molly Synod, listed as her mother. Isabel gasped, reading the email aloud. "Mom, what does this mean?" Emily froze. It made no sense. She was Isabel's mother. She had raised her, loved her, held her since birth. But the science said otherwise. The two women strangers on opposite ends of the country suddenly found themselves bound by something undeniable, their shared DNA. Molly reached out first, her message short but trembling with emotion. "Hi, my name is Molly Synod. I think we need to talk." When Emily saw the message, her heart skipped a beat. Against her better judgment, she replied. Neither of them knew that what they were about to uncover wasn't a mix-up or a coincidence. It was something far deeper, a story that began long before either of them took that test, when two tiny newborns in South Korea were placed into separate cribs, never knowing they were two halves of the same soul. The first phone call between Molly and Emily felt like speaking into a mirror. They were strangers, yet every tone, every laugh, every breath sounded familiar, hauntingly familiar. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Emily broke the silence. "Molly, you said you were adopted too?" "Yes," Molly replied softly. "From South Korea, the 29th of March, 1985. Emily's voice caught in her throat. "That's my birthday." There was a pause so long it could have filled a lifetime. Both women realized the impossible. They weren't just connected by a DNA glitch. They were connected by birth. They were twins. The discovery hit them like a tidal wave. Two women born together, separated as babies, raised in different homes, different states, now staring at each other's photos through a phone screen. And what they saw was shocking. Same smile, same almond-shaped eyes, even the same quirky hairstyle they had both thought was uniquely theirs. Molly laughed through tears. It's like I'm looking at me, Emily smiled, eyes glistening. Maybe that's because you are. The weeks that followed were an emotional blur. They exchanged hundreds of messages, stories, childhood photos, memories of moments that now felt strangely parallel. Both had grown up loving cats. Both adored dance. Both had worn nearly identical prom dresses years apart. It was as if fate had drawn invisible lines connecting their lives, even while keeping them apart. And yet, they both agreed on one thing. They wouldn't meet on video. Not yet. No FaceTime, no Zoom, calls, nothing, until the day they met in person. If I've waited 36 years, Emily said, I can wait a few more weeks to look into your eyes for real. When the day finally came, the reunion was set at Philadelphia International Airport, halfway between their homes. The terminal buzzed with ordinary travelers, oblivious to the extraordinary moment unfolding among them. Molly stepped through the arrivals gate, clutching a bouquet of yellow tulips, Emily's favorite flower, though she didn't know how she knew that. Her heart pounded. Every step felt heavier than the last, until she saw her. Standing across the crowd was Emily, the same face, the same nervous smile, and for a few seconds, time just stopped. Both women stood frozen, tears streaming silently, their breaths catching in unison. Then, as if drawn by gravity itself, they moved, running the last few feet before collapsing into each other's arms. The crowd erupted into applause, though neither of them noticed. They were lost in the kind of silence that only family can share, a silence filled with decades of missed birthdays, unspoken love, and the ache of time lost. It's really you, Emily whispered, her voice trembling. It's always been me, Molly replied. I just didn't know where to find you. For hours they sat together, catching up on 36 years of life, from favorite foods to heartbreaks, from pets to parenting. Emily introduced her daughter Isabel, who looked at her newfound Aunt Molly in awe. You look just like my mom, she said with innocent wonder. The sisters laughed, their voices blending like a melody that had finally found its harmony. Later, they discovered even more astonishing coincidences, the same childhood photos with matching poses, the same senior year hairstyles, and even the same major in college. Different paths, same soul. Their story quickly made headlines. News outlets called them the Miracle Twins. But to Molly and Emily, the miracle wasn't the fame, it was the feeling of finally being complete. People always say family is what you make it, Emily told a reporter. But in our case, family found us across oceans, across decades. Now, the sisters are inseparable. They spend holidays together, call each other daily, and have made a promise never to let time divide them again. Their journey from a random DNA test to a life-changing reunion became a reminder that sometimes life hides our missing pieces in plain sight. Molly often looks back at that night she mailed her test kit, remembering how ordinary it seemed. I thought I was sending my DNA to a lab, she said once. Turns out I was sending it home. And as for Isabel, she now proudly tells everyone, I don't just have a mom, I have two. A family once split by chance, reunited by fate. Two hearts, one story, finally whole again.